The 2024 Dutch Grand Prix was a cleanly fought race, with the McLaren truly cementing itself as the fastest car on track, and Lando finally getting a satisfying pole-to-win conversion. As Red Bull falter and Max Verstappen's championship lead shrinks, can the Papaya team truly mount a campaign for both titles? We'll have to head to Italy to find out. But the road to Monza is at a standstill. So you might as well cool those brakes, relax, and chill with us for a while. Hello, and welcome to Traffic Paradise. I'm Uno, and joining me today are Tay.
Hey.
Kira.
Hello.
And Immy.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? Did you enjoy the race?
It was definitely a race. Not the most exciting one, but there were cars on track.
Okay. Kira, how did you feel?
I honestly don't know how I felt about the race because not having my fave Oscar Piastri on the podium was very devastating. We were so close, but at the same time, I was really happy for Charles Leclerc to finally get a podium. So yeah, it was fine.
God, the Ferrari fan in me was happy, but I left that race feeling so emotionally drained, and I don't even know why. So confused. That's my answer, I think.
Yeah, after the race, I went and sat in a dark corner and ate some cake. I was very sad. And then I ate too much cake, and then I felt ill afterwards. But
Oh dear.
We got to eat our feelings sometimes.
Honestly, I do that all the time.
It's the Yuki Tsunoda way.
It's never a good day to be a Yuki Tsunoda fan.
No, it was a terrible day to be a Yuki Tsunoda fan. That's very correct. Let's start with Logan's FP3 crash and take it from there.
I'm sure everyone was very well aware of Logan Sargent's horrible crash in FP3. I was absolutely devastated, and it's definitely not helped by the fact that James Vowles is already deciding to explore other options, replacing Logan Sargent as soon as Monza. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's been... I don't know really what to say because Logan has had quite a few crashes, but a lot of them have not been his fault. So I don't know if it's completely reasonable for James to replace him mid-season now. What do you guys think?
I think James Vowles has just really sort of made his reputation bad being a team principal this year. It seems that he wants Logan out of the car. He seems done with it. Everything he says about him is just like, my God, when he was on Sky Sports the other day and said, oh, Logan's in the top 10, no, top 20 drivers. It's like, you are hammering it in now, man. There's two drivers that have been rumoured to be on the shortlist, though. That's Mick Schumacher and Liam Lawson. Of course, it's all rumours. It seems Toto really wants to get Mick back on the grid. Apparently, he's been in talks with Williams to give him a seat, which is quite bizarre given they've locked Alex and Carlos in for the long term. So I don't know what he's trying to do there. And who knows what's happening with Liam at this point.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not the best idea to replace Logan mid-season. And as for the rumours that Red Bull might be loaning out Liam, I really don't see it happening. I don't think Williams will be wanting to give experience to a potential rival, seeing as Liam might be racing in V-Carb next year. So I really don't see that happening. Mick Schumacher is a possibility, but I really don't think that they should replace Logan at all.
So from my point of view, James Vowles is an idiot. The best way I can say it. Everything he says, he sounds like a politician that has zero actual political beliefs and just says the most stock standard wishy-washy kind of just, I don't know. There's something about him that really makes me think there is no soul underneath that surface, because
it's giving Boris Johnson.
It's giving I wouldn't even classify it as a particular politician, because it's like imagine you were casting someone to play a politician in a TV show and you wanted them to be a stock standard stereotypical politician, you would cast James Vowles. And there's something about him that just irks me so much. Every time he speaks, I'm like, ugh, just stop it. Because he keeps talking about how Williams is this meritocracy, you know? But then you come to the race and your car is the wrong size. Now, it might just be 3 millimeters, but he's like, but we measured it many times. Yeah, well, the FIA measured it too, and it was the wrong measurement. So where is your meritocracy, bro? Like, come on. You can't keep judging Logan for not being good enough when you as a team are not good enough. It's that simple. And I actually think Logan did quite well in the race itself, and we'll chat about that later, perhaps. Like, he might not have been a superstar, but he managed to keep Yuki behind him for most of the race, which is pretty impressive for someone who's considered to be a terrible driver. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think that James Vowles is an idiot, and I don't like him at all. That's my opinion. It might be a bit strong worded, but that's the truth.
Honestly, speak your truth, because it's not as if this has only happened since he's been Williams' team principal. I mean, when he was at Mercedes, there were incidents of him being like this, especially with Valtteri Bottas.
Valtteri, it's James.
Yeah, I mean, Williams is a bit of a joke, but God, did they have a horrid weekend. I can't believe, though, because James Vowles was on there ribbing on Logan for destroying the upgrades, just for the upgrades to get Alex disqualified from qualifying. Like, if Logan had been in qualifying, he would have probably been disqualified as well. Like, what a joke, honestly.
I think James Vowles actually said that they had a mechanic with a piece of sandpaper to fix it.
What?
No, it's true. They sanded down the bit that was sticking out by 3 millimeters, and then it was to within regulation.
That seems very Williams.
No, I don't like that team. Feel bad for their drivers. I like Logan, I like Alex, but I do not like that team at all.
Honestly, justice for Alex Albon. He is so much better than that blooming car, and he's been in Williams now. This is his is it third season? Yeah, this is his third season at Williams, and he hasn't had a podium, as far as I remember.
Well, the Williams is just not the car for that at this point. Apparently, they've got a master plan, but we'll see under James's leadership if that actually pans out.
It seems like James's master plan is just Carlos, and yes, Carlos is a brilliant driver, but Carlos is not a god. He can't turn an awful car into a podium car.
Exactly, and especially if that car isn't legal.
Moving on from that, we know Alex was disqualified from quali, and then there was a whole bunch of other quali stuff that happened as well. We had Lewis impeding Checo and dropping 3 grid positions to start in P14. What do we think about that? Was that a fair call by the stewards?
It's very debatable, isn't it? Lewis, could he have done more? I honestly don't know, but then Checo did have to burn a new set of softs that he could have used in Q3, that he didn't because he was impeded. So
I agree. It was definitely a difficult decision for the stewards to make. Like, if you look at the onboards, Lewis got out of the way, he slowed down, but the way that corner was, he really couldn't get fully out of the way. So it would have been dangerous if he had to stop to let Checo through. So he did his best, but at the end of the day, Checo was impeded. So it was a fair call, I think.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Lewis that it happened where it did, because as the others have said, there's nowhere for him to go. But I guess rules are rules. They can't just be like, oh yeah, Lewis didn't know what to do, so we'll let him off. They can't do that, because that would have been really unfair on Checo.
I think it comes down to track width and the tracks they're racing on. They just aren't suited sometimes to what needs to happen on a track. They're too narrow. Drivers can't get off the racing line in a way that helps other drivers. And so there's always going to be these issues. It's also the format of qualifying. You know, they used to have other formats of qualifying where a driver would go out by himself on the track, do 3 laps, and then come back in and set his qualifying time, and it would go from that. Now you've got 20 cars on track. They all having to race around each other to set a fastest time. The tracks are too narrow. The cars are too wide, and sometimes 3 millimeters wider if you're a Williams. And it's it's an issue. It's like a compounding issue that's going to continue happening until they rework certain things about Formula One. It's a systemic issue rather than Lewis Hamilton did something naughty.
I agree.
To be fair, I don't know how you could change qualifying to make it more fair, because if you had the one person going out at a time, the person who goes last would have that benefit of the track evolution that the person who goes first didn't have. You could argue maybe for a more IndyCar style qualifying where you get two sets of cars going out, but that's also quite confusing for people watching. And I feel like Formula One wants to orient itself to be friendly for everybody to easily watch because they want money. I don't know. I think the only real way is for the cars to get smaller, but then they can't get so small because safety. It's kind of a never-ending spiral.
It is time to name our Paradise and Purgatory of the week. This is a little segment where we will name a driver, team, or person, or event that we thought was good and one that we thought was bad. Starting with Kira. Who are we sending to Purgatory this week?
I don't know if it's been obvious based off what I've been saying, but Williams, and rightfully so. You cause obviously the crash this time was Logan's fault, but his car was set on fire, and apparently that is not supposed to happen in that sort of crash. I saw that somebody was talking about how that a fire after that kind of crash is very unusual. And also then with Alex, and then with giving Alex a two-stopper, which really wasn't very good. So yeah, Williams.
I like that. Who wants to go next?
The driver I'm sending to Purgatory, I actually had a pretty hard time choosing because the race had so few incidents, but I had to go with Lance Stroll. In recent weekends, we've seen a few drivers in trouble for speeding in the pit lane by about half a kilometre an hour, but this weekend, Lance was almost 6 kilometres an hour over the pit lane speed limit. It might be a harsh punishment, but he is on his way to Purgatory.
My goodness, 6 kilometers an hour faster. That's crazy.
I did not know that. Wow.
To be very fair to Lance in this situation, Zandvoort actually has a pit lane speed limit of only 60 kilometers an hour, whereas most other tracks have 80 kilometers an hour.
He has raced Zandvoort every time it's been on the track, though, so he should know.
Yeah, that's like a silly mistake that costs him in an unnecessary way. So yeah, I agree with your decision there.
6 kilometers is so dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, Immy, who are you sending to Purgatory?
I kind of feel like I know who you're going to send, Uno, so I'm going to send Mercedes, purely because what was that pit for George at the end? And granted, I know he was going to lose position to Carlos because his hard tyres were wearing, granted. But was he going to go all the way back to 8th? Probably not. That pit for softs kind of ruined his race. So, bye-bye, Mercedes.
Yeah, and Mercedes didn't even get a fastest lap out of it. Lando got the fastest lap at the end of the day, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
On the very last lap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, I, Uno, solemnly declare that I am sending Visa Cash App RB's strategy team straight down to Purgatory and even down 5 more levels to hell, because what the actual was that strategy? My God, I have never seen such in my life. What a bunch of idiotic, stupid. I despise them with my heart and soul. My God, may they have thunder and lightning and acid rain pour down on them for eternity, because my goodness, that was ridiculous.
And breathe.
Yeah, I was between Mercedes and V-Carb. I knew you were going to do that.
My reason for saying this, now that I've got that off my chest, they actually could have done what I expected them to do, was one of those classic Yuki one-stop tire whisperer strategies, where he does a long run on the first tire, makes up a few places because other people are pitting, and then goes on to another set of hards or whatever it might be, mediums. Hards in this case would have been ideal, and then take it to the end. That is a tried and trusted VCarb points Yuki method, and they just didn't do it this week. The one time where, and in fairness to them, I was like, please don't do that because it will be boring. But at the same time, it would have got them a chance for points. Instead, they pitted Yuki too early. They pitted him onto the wrong tires. And then on those wrong tires, they pitted him too early again. So he was completely out of sync with everyone else. He got stuck behind Logan Sargent, whose car was apparently 3 meters wider because no one could get around it. And Yuki was stuck at the back of the race for the rest of the race, and it was pathetic. Even Daniel Ricciardo's strategy wasn't good enough to get him in the running for points. That's just not good enough. It's simply not good enough. That team was supposed to be challenging Aston Martin for P5 in the Constructors' Championships, and we're busy racing around with... Okay, we're not really racing with Sauber. No one's racing with Sauber. They're not even racing with each other. But we're racing with Logan Sargent and Kevin Magnussen at the back of the field. It's ridiculous. It's completely stupid. And I absolutely hate VCarb until Monza, where we will win points and then I will love them again. But for now, I hate them and I'm sending them to purgatory.
That was like Toto Wolff levels of rambling.
I love that. Oh,
That was great.
I can't wait to edit that.
So now that we've sent our devilish choices to purgatory, let's uplift a few names to paradise. Immy, let's start with you. Who are you sending up to paradise?
okay. I'm sending Charles to paradise. How the hell do you get a podium in that Ferrari that was projected to be losing 0.5 seconds to Mercedes in the slow corners, which is what they used to be good at? Ferrari fan in me, the only thing that I came away from the race happy about, oh my god, how on earth? I mean, even he said it would take a miracle. God, Forza Ferrari, yay!
Absolutely. I was very impressed that Charles was able to get that P3. He seemed to really be on it this weekend, and yeah, he was rewarded for it. A very good choice, Immy. Tay, let's go to you. Who are you sending up to paradise?
I'm sending Pierre Gasly up to paradise this week. He did so well throughout the race. He was defending from cars that were a lot faster than his Alpine. Even if the guy that was adjusting his front wing might disagree, he's going to paradise.
No, good point. I think that whole was he ever... They weren't penalized for that, were they?
No, I don't think so.
No, they weren't.
It was just investigated.
Yeah.
I guess it was safe enough.
I hope Mr. Alpine Man's hand is okay. And if not, we'll send that up to paradise too. Just so it can get some healing. Kira, who are you sending up to paradise?
So, similarly to Immy, and I can't believe that I was ever going to say this, but I am sending to paradise the Ferrari strategy team. I know, shocking. I never thought that this would ever happen, but actually, even for Science as well, because considering Science started, I think it was P12. Was it P12?
I think 11. Oh no, maybe 10. I don't know because
He started P10 in the end because of grid
Yes, 10.
penalties. Even Science and Leclerc, they both were given the right tires, the right strategy, and it paid off for them. Who are these people, and what have they done with a normal Ferrari? Like, they managed to bag P3 and P5 after starting so much lower than that. I mean, P6 and P10. I know that normally you'd expect that from Ferrari, but considering their recent track record, I think it was amazing. So, yeah, you guys can go to paradise for that one.
Forza Ferrari, indeed. Everyone's loving Ferrari this week. I have to agree. I think they did a tremendous job. But my choice for paradise, I was going to say Pierre, because he did amazingly. But instead, I'm going to actually choose Checo, Sergio Perez. I think that with all the hate he's received over the course of this season, he has delivered maybe not a brilliant race. I'm not going to pretend he's delivered a brilliant race. The Red Bull is problematic at the moment, but he has gotten through to Q3. He has finished in the points. He hasn't been having those funny little moments that he has that people sort of pounce on and start saying, oh, he needs to lose his seat. as much as it pains me as a Yuki Tsunoda fan to say it, I think Checo currently, over the last couple races, has done enough to secure his seat, at least for the rest of the year, but perhaps even into next year, because what he has to do is just consistently get in the points to help minimize McLaren eating into Red Bull's total for the end of the year. It might be a bit of an unorthodox point, but I'm sending Checo to paradise. I think he's improving, and I think he's under a tremendous amount of pressure, but he's being resilient through it. So my choice, Checo Perez, up to paradise you go.
I'm 100% behind you there. The Red Bull is just a bit of a shocking car at the moment. So for Checo to be able to hold on to a good position, qualify well, that's all Red Bull needs him to do at this point. It doesn't need to be up on a podium, because it's going to be hard for Max to do that if McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari keep going in a good direction. Just be there. That's all Checo has to do.
Yeah.
They say it's appalling, but the Red Bull is still the second fastest car.
Yeah! It's the handling though.
Yeah, true. Actually, that's a good point.
It's the second fastest car when Max Verstappen drives it. We know Max Verstappen is a very incredibly gifted racing driver. So he can eke a lot more out of that car than the average Formula One driver can. He is having to drive around its problems and bring it up to pace. But what was the at the end of the race, it was like a 30-second difference between him and Norris, wasn't
22.
it?
22 seconds.
22.
God, if it
22
was 30,
seconds.
my life would be over.
So a 22-second deficit from a car that at the beginning of the year was running 30-second deficits. So they've basically lost like 52 seconds over the course of a race.
To some extent, that was that Max knew he couldn't regain P1, so he decided to hold back and keep P2 completely safe for him, because he still wants to increase his points in the World Championship. Whereas if he was trying his hardest for one, that might have shredded his tyres and made him more susceptible.
When has Max Verstappen ever made a decision like that?
I don't know. I really don't think. 'Cause how do you go from being like at least level with the McLaren to maybe a little bit behind to a 22-second gap? I think he was making a smart choice.
No. I agree with you. He was making that choice. I'm just like, imagine the world that has to be created with a
Okay.
Red Bull car for Max Verstappen to choose to not fight for a victory.
Yeah, well, that is the shocking direction this team's gone in.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But that wraps up our Paradise and Purgatory section. We shall now go on to just discuss the race a little bit more. We have multiple things to discuss today, but I think obviously the biggest one is that Lando is the first McLaren driver to convert a pole and win multiple races in a season since Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton in 2012. What do we think about that?
The fact that it hasn't been done since Hamilton and Button's duo is, I mean, partly kind of disgraceful for McLaren, but also it just goes to show how much they've improved over the last few years.
Yeah, it really highlights the trajectory that team has been on, which I think is what James Vowles is trying to do with Williams, but it's apparently what Carlos sees in them. So, but I don't know. It's good for them. It's good to have a new team fighting up at the front again, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely made this season interesting.
Lando did a good job. Obviously, he had a little bit of an issue off the starting line, but he came back. He put in a solid performance, and he had a considerable margin over Max at the end of the day. I think he's still very much in contention for that world championship. I will walk back what I said last week. I thought that Oscar would be a lot stronger than Lando, and I was incorrect on that. And I think Lando has stepped up to the challenge. And you know what? Good for him. I'm happy for him.
The starting issues, I feel like for once, it wasn't more of a Lando problem and more of a McLaren problem in general. I think Oscar had a slightly worse start than Lando. It was revs after the start, really, the wheel spin, which I think was more to do with they didn't have a lot of time for good practice starts in the dry. So they didn't have maybe the optimal sort of starting regimen for this race. So that was probably more McLaren team side issue.
We've talked a lot about Lando, but I think we should give props to Oscar as well. He's only in his second season in F1, and when you're in your second season and your fans are disappointed when you come P4, that really says a lot about your skill as a driver.
Yes.
That's a very good point. Nobody's saying this about any other recent rookies. I mean, even people like Carlos Sainz and George Russell, like, their fans don't get disappointed when they come P6, P8. I mean, people are still celebrating George for getting P8 this week. So I think it's quite a clear difference between that and Oscar.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have been really praising Oscar and lifting him up recently, which does lead to some of the backlash, which I think a lot of people are just not true fans, and whenever a driver does something that isn't like glorious, they'll instantly turn on them, which is just get a grip, really.
That's just Twitter.
Yeah, that is just Twitter.
Before we move on to looking back at our predictions from last week, does anyone want to add anything more about the race or the weekend in general?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add that also sort of puts a bit of a bad light on Red Bull's developmental trajectory is that Max drove this race with the floor from Bahrain, which tells me that Red Bull is trying to figure out where they went wrong and where their car became so hard to handle. They're trying to go back and create a sort of super drivable car from previous parts, like back in the first race. So they've obviously gone wrong pretty horribly somewhere in their development this year. And it's also to an extent that Max has more competition, so he's driving the car more, but this seems to be a big issue.
I'm excited to look back at our predictions from last week and put points on the board for the first time. Well, maybe I'm not that excited because I did terribly. But let's have a look back. Immy, you predicted Verstappen P1, Norris P2, Leclerc P3, and your wildcard prediction was that there would be a mechanical DNF. How do you think you did?
Well, pretty horribly overall. If the Red Bull was a drivable car, I'd be sort of very, very happy. But oh my god, bring back issues with the car. I need a DNF. God.
I mean, you did get, I think, 1 point.
I got a point. I mean, I could be you.
You got 1 point. You were correct that Charles would come third. And what you were incorrect about was the fact that he had upgrades, which apparently he didn't have upgrades.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he came third. If he had upgrades, he would have been screwed.
Oh, they're gonna have a horrible time in Monza then.
Generally, those upgrades don't work so well for them. Kira.
Okay, so it seems that I've done a little bit better than I expected to do. I almost managed to get a perfect podium, and I was so annoyed when Piastri just could not overtake Leclerc. So I predicted Norris P1, Verstappen P2, and Piastri P3. And my wild card was that there would be backmarker team points, which also there could have been if Alex Albon hadn't been disqualified.
We can't let you have too many points, Kira.
Honestly, predicting P1 Norris and P2 Verstappen, I don't know how I did that. That was, wow. I'm really happy with that, honestly.
You've done very well. You are currently way ahead of anyone else in the point standings, so well done for that.
Woohoo!
You did far better than I did.
Well,
Tay, shall we discuss yours? Just to clarify, Tay wasn't able to join us last week to record, but she did send us her predictions. Tay, do you want to tell us what your predictions were? And then we'll discuss how you did.
Yeah, so my predictions were P1 George Russell, P2 Max Verstappen, P3 Oscar Piastri, and my wildcard prediction was that a team would have a double DNF. So with Russell, it was pretty far off. He came P7. I got Verstappen right, which is a small victory. Piastri, if he only overtook one more car, he would have been up there. And the double DNF was definitely a long shot, but to see no DNFs at all was a bit of a surprise, actually. And I think, if I remember correctly, there wasn't even any yellow flags during the race. The only flags during the whole race were either blue or checkered.
Yeah. God, it's so clean. I don't want clean.
Too clean. Definitely too clean.
Yes, and unfortunately, that leads me to my predictions from last week. I'll start with my wildcard prediction because it kind of ties in with that. I predicted there would be 2 safety cars, and like nothing,
Oh.
nothing. As you say, not even a yellow freaking flag. So that was a terrible prediction from me. I predicted that Oscar would win, that Hamilton would come second, and Norris will come third. The closest thing I have there is that Norris was on the podium, but I got him in the completely wrong position. So I walk away with 0 points, which is a tragedy. So I will endeavor to do better for our next predictions for Monza. Let's see now how our predictions translated to points. We already know that Uno got 0 points. Sad day for Uno. Immy, you walk away with 1 point. Congratulations.
Forza Ferrari. That's all I have to say.
Forza Ferrari. There we go. Tay, you walk away with 3 points, which is very admirable. And Kira, pulling off a Max Verstappen-esque season opener of 7 points. You've done very
Let's
well.
go.
Congratulations.
Oh, trust me, I'm gonna throw it all away next
Oh,
week.
brilliant, brilliant. That gives me a
Please,
chance. I'm happy.
please do.
So the standings so far, Kira is in first place, Tay is in second place, Immy is in third place, and backmarker that he is, Uno, is in last place.
I'm not going to complain about being in second place, but it's funny that I did it with only 3 points.
We will continue looking at our predictions as the season goes on, and at the end of the year, we will see who has the most points and who wins the inaugural Traffic Paradise predictions competition points championship
We should
thing.
come up with a better name for that.
Woo!
We'll
I
fix
think we
it in
need some
post.
alliteration.
That brings our race analysis to a close. Zandvoort was an exciting race for some and a boring race for others, but most importantly, it was a race, as Tay
Woo!
said.
It was a race.
It was a race. We will now move on. Before we start looking at the upcoming race in Monza, we will take a break to listen to some news. Our top story this week is Jack Doohan will be taking that second Alpine seat.
Yay!
Woo!
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah. Oh, I'm happy. I wanted Jack to get that seat.
I mean, it was definitely expected, and I'm very happy for him. I think as soon as he did that FP1, I can't remember what race it was, but he did an FP1, Canada. When he did that, I think everyone knew that he was definitely promising to be given the seat next year. So I think Alpine made a good decision.
I mean, it all kind of hinged on whether or not Carlos signed there. I mean, even Jack was talking about like having a conversation with Carlos's manager, like afterwards, after Carlos signed for Williams, I think. It was all hinging on that, and I'm happy. Honestly, Jack seems really nice. So,
As an Aussie, I'm so happy to see another one of my countrymen on the grid. And with the new calendar next year, his first race will be in Australia, so I'm so excited. The Doohan family are legends in Australian motorsport, so it's good to see him like continuing the legacy. And I love that clip where Oscar goes to congratulate Jack, and he
yeah.
goes, "Congratulations, Formula One driver," and Jack says, "Thank you, Formula One driver." It was very like, "Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie."
Yeah, it's very cool that we're getting some fresh blood into Formula One.
Fresh blood.
That's a bit intimidating.
I mean, it's good after a year with no real rookies. So
Yeah, it's good. It's
The grid did not change last year.
Yeah, well, apart from Nick de Vries and Daniel Ricciardo, that was really it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, as I said, it's very exciting that we're getting someone new. We're getting a few new people next year. But in terms of Jack, I think he will do well at Alpine. He knows the team well. He's obviously comes from within the team, so they haven't gone outside to get a new driver. They've promoted him up their ranks, which I think is
It's hard for them to do.
why.
Oscar. Like
Oscar?
they don't have a good reputation of promoting people from Alpine.
I mean, they tried. They just haven't been successful at it. But this time they tried and they succeeded. So they got it right this time.
They finally got their Aussie rookie.
They finally got that Aussie rookie. There you go. I also think that it will be nice for Pierre Gasly. He seems to get along well with Jack. I know there was some issues with Ocon. I would imagine that Pierre will be a bit more secure in his P1 or his number one driver status within the team, which will probably make him just a little bit happier and hopefully lead to better performances from him. And the team will hopefully also be building their efforts around him with Jack doing supporting, at least for the first year. I'm sure once he's there a little bit longer, he'll begin challenging Pierre as well. But we all know that Pierre is a great driver when you're a rookie to be paired with. He did great work with Yuki Tsunoda, and I'm sure that Jack will also benefit greatly from having Pierre as his teammate.
No more French Civil War.
No more French Civil War, but some more French news, because still on Alpine, Esteban mentioned to Motorsports Week that the French team hasn't been listening to driver feedback, leading to them being stuck with issues they have had for a couple of years. How could this affect 2025, or what will this mean for Jack's rookie season? Do you think Oliver Oakes will be able to change this environment for the team?
We'll see with Oliver Oakes. I think he's young, which is good. The youngest team principal, I think, on the grid right now. It'll be a new sort of outlook, opinion, which hopefully includes listening to drivers a lot and not being like, what I say is right and what you think is wrong. Hopefully. These developmental issues, how long they'll have them for. Maybe they'll only be fixed by 2026, because I think a lot of teams are going to start moving their efforts to the 2026 car as opposed to fixing 2025. So it might mean that Jack doesn't have it's like a bit of a backmarker middle field first season, but what can you expect, really?
Yeah, I really hope that they sort out this issue before Jack joins the team, like as a full-time driver, because drivers have a lot of eyes on them in their rookie seasons, and I don't want him to cop some unfair criticism about this just because he's not performing at the heights people think they are. Sorry, the heights people think he should be. So I hope they can sort it out.
Moving on to Mercedes, Toto Wolff has seemingly slipped up and already named Immy as their second driver. When speaking to Dutch media, he said the two drivers in our car next year have our full support. I wanted to work with George and Immy. This comes after it was announced last week that Immy will drive in an FP1 for Mercedes at Monza, where an official announcement is also rumored.
I am so excited. I'm honestly way too excited to see Kimmy in the Mercedes. It's going to be like his one proper chance before the announcement to really show that he's ready. Because obviously he's only just turned 18 literally yesterday, so he hasn't had a chance to show anybody his skills in the Mercedes apart from when he's been doing testing in previous years' cars. So he's got a lot of potential. I can't wait to see him drive.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be an interesting candidate. Young, doesn't have that much experience, but has a lot of potential. So we shall watch his career with great interest moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's just very interesting how Toto is handling this news, because the higher ups in teams is usually very hush hush about the signings. So a slip up like this is pretty big. Like, even just this week, we saw Martin Brundle trying to trick Lawrence Stroll into confessing about signing Adrian Newey,
Yeah, I saw that.
and he was on the ball about denying it. So Toto letting it slip is so interesting to me, but I wonder if it's even true.
You think it's a bit of manifestation from Toto? He's manifesting it into being.
It could be an Oscar Alpine situation.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, can you imagine if Kimmy...
He was like, no, I'm going to V-carb. It'd give Toto PTSD all over again.
yeah.
Oh god, please. There's already too many drivers at VCarb. We can't have another one. Please, please,
I
please,
know.
please.
Okay, we could put Kimmy in Checo's Red Bull instead, and then Toto can cry about losing a second amazing driver after Max Verstappen as well.
Christian would do it to spite Toto, I bet.
Oh, he would, 100%.
He would.
That would actually be so funny. Can you imagine Toto's reaction if Christian Horner snagged Kimi Antonelli as well?
I feel like he'd just retire.
No, Christian, this is so not right.
We now have to move on to our Monza predictions for the 2024 Italian Grand Prix. A race that has not been won from pole position since 2019. Max may have won here the past 2 years, but it's also a place where McLaren and Ferrari have triumphed in the past. So first of all, let's hear from Immy. What are your predictions for Monza?
Okay, so for my podium predictions, for P1, this time I'm putting my money on Lando. I think the win from Zandvoort is going to give him a big boost of confidence. And with the dominant McLaren under him, I don't see it going any other way, to be honest. All he has to do now is improve his starts. For P2, I've gone with Oscar. I'm trying to do a bit of manifestation here, okay, because Zandvoort killed me a little bit. But I think he had a bit of a weak weekend, but I know he's going to come back from that with a lot of determination. So I'm seeing a McLaren 1-2, I really am. And for P3, I've gone with Charles. It's the Ferrari fan in me, and you know what? It was right last time. I think if Ferrari can figure out what they did right in Zandvoort, they'll have a good thing going for them. Plus, they're actually bringing upgrades this time. God knows what I was reading last time, but they are bringing upgrades this time. So I think another podium is definitely possible, and it might not take a miracle this time.
Interesting. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said last week. You're very brave predicting that they'll do well with new upgrades.
I can't see them doing bad at Monza. I feel like they build their car for Monza partially. It's the way Ferrari is.
Yeah, it is.
I'm hoping
one of 2 home Grand Prix for them, so it should be
Yeah.
it should be a good weekend for them. One would hope for their sake that it's a good weekend. Okay, thank you, Immy. Tay, will you please tell us your predictions?
For my podium prediction, I've put Lewis Hamilton in P1.
Woo.
Despite the poor results from the Mercedes duo at the Dutch Grand Prix, you can't count out their straight line speed. I know it's bold, but I'm looking for another Lewis Hamilton win. I debated predicting a double podium for Mercedes, but I just couldn't count out McLaren and Ferrari. So that's why I've put Norris in P2 and Leclerc in P3. So in Imola, we saw Lando take second off the back of his win in Miami, and now we're back in Italy, so I think he'll do the same result. And as for Charles, I think Ferrari are looking a lot better than they did leading up to the summer break, and with the Tifosi behind them, he'll be able to take that last podium position.
Also Ferrari.
Interesting. I got burned picking Lewis Hamilton for a podium last week, so I hope you are as successful as I was, because I need to get some points on you people. So, no, but that's very interesting. I also like that idea of like it's sort of like poetry. They rhyme. The victory to Italy P2 rhythm of Norris's season will be if that happens, that'll be really cool. I love those sort of poetic moments in sport. They're always interesting. Okay, thank you so much, Tay. Kira, what are your predictions for Monza?
As I said, I'm about to throw away my lead in this competition, but my gut is telling me that P1 is going to be Oscar Piastri. Yes, incredibly bold claim, but I had the same gut feeling in Hungary, and look what happened. McLaren aren't amazing at Monza in the recent years, but honestly, they've become dominant on most tracks this season, so I have hope. If Lando ends up having like a bad race for him, I think Oscar's got a lot of potential to win. Now, I'm going off the back that Lando's not going to have a good race. Nothing personal against Lando, but he's had so many good races recently that it's almost about time for him to have one that doesn't quite go his way, as it happens to everybody. So P2, I put Verstappen again. He won last year. He's performing pretty well despite the car flaws, but he is having quite the collection of P2s recently, and I feel like he might get another one with that. And then P3, again, like everybody else, I am putting Leclerc to face the home crowd, and Ferrari normally perform at Monza, and Forza Ferrari, so yeah, Leclerc. And that's it for me.
I was also burned with picking Oscar Piastri for a win, so again, I hope you have my same success.
Uh-oh.
I am going very, very, very conservative with my predictions. I think Lando will win. I think Oscar will do better this week and will finish P2. And I think Verstappen will take the final step of the podium for P3. I'm being very conservative with my predictions. I'm just looking at what we saw at this previous race. And I think that as much as Red Bull have fallen behind, I don't think that Ferrari and Mercedes have quite caught up to them yet. So McLaren 1-2 with another Lando victory, and Max Verstappen close behind, dragging his ailing Red Bull onto the podium. That's my prediction.
Wow, our predictions are almost the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap, but that's cool. That means hopefully we're all wrong or we're all right.
We can both pray for a McLaren 1-2, and it'll help them. They'll see it like in the sky or something. I don't know. I can't get spiritual.
And just my luck, it will be an Oscar P1 and Lando P2, and I will get 0
Oh,
points.
God, right? Well, see, me too, but the great thing about that is if Lando wins, I'll be happy about my points. No offense to Lando, but I root for Oscar. And if Oscar wins, I'll be happy about Oscar winning. So it's going to work out.
We all root for Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think McLaren needs to now actually say, sorry, Oscar, but you're not allowed to win any more races if Lando's right behind you. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to have a title fight, it will have to
Yeah.
go that way, and I will be very depressed. But
It will be sad for Oscar, but at the same time, McLaren needs to actually man up a bit. And
to be fair, McLaren in the past have not been good at picking a first driver, so I wonder if they'll just stick with their "we don't have one."
we love everyone.
Yeah.
Fill in with the power of friendship.
God, that's scary.
The power of friendship, as opposed to the power of millions in sponsorship deals because you have a world championship winning driver. But anyway. Next.
The shade. The shade.
Moving on. Next, we will really test our odds with the wild card prediction. Immy, you can go first. What is your wild card prediction?
It's kind of conservative, and well, following a trend last week for me did not work, like horrifically. My prediction is that the winner won't start from pole.
Wasn't that a statistic about the track that you were bringing
Yeah,
up earlier?
it was a statistic about the track, and I am using that statistic. It's what I did last week.
Okay. And how did that work out for you?
Not well, but I'm trying.
No, you're doing the statistically relevant prediction, I think. It's, if all else fails, follow the statistics and what are the trends and go with that. It's how people make millions on the stock market. So maybe it will net you a couple points. Or just 1 point, actually.
Just 1 point.
Yeah. 1 point more than I have right now, so that's good for you. Tay, will you please tell us your wildcard prediction?
I've checked the weather forecast for Sunday, and it looks like there's a chance of rain. So that's why I'm predicting that we will have a safety car during the race. We haven't had a safety car since Canada almost 3 months ago now. And as much as I don't want anyone to get hurt, I do think it is about time that we see a safety car.
Bring on the yellow flags.
Yeah.
You know what, though? Mourning not getting a safety car last race because the safety cars were so pretty. They, had Dutch art
They
on
were.
them,
Oh, they
right?
were.
Oh my god, I can't believe it. Why? God.
I think they should use that scary flower lion as the safety car.
Yeah.
And they can water the flowers while it rains. It will be a very eco-friendly way of doing a safety car. And also, it's freaking hilarious because that thing was so derpy. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I can't believe they actually used that.
Like, what were they thinking? Was it a
I
joke?
actually tuned into the driver's parade for once just to look at that thing.
I couldn't stop tweeting about it.
I didn't tune into the drivers' parade. I just saw your tweets, Uno.
No, but that's the thing. Like, I couldn't stop tweeting about it. Like every 2 seconds, I'd be like, no, I have to mention this again. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And apparently, it was a lion.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a lion because that's like Dutch.
Oh, it looked like a dog. I don't know.
I thought it was a dragon.
It's supposed to be. I think it was a lion, like fashioned like a dragon.
Oh.
I think.
Maybe it was just.
Yeah, yeah. Where were we? We've gone off on a mighty tangent.
I still haven't done my wild card.
Yeah, we made it halfway through.
Okay, so my prediction is that there is going to be a nasty crash involving at least 2 cars. Now, I'm not wishing ill on anybody. This is not a crash that's going to hurt anyone. By nasty crash, I just mean it takes out at least 2 cars from the race. Zandvoort was far too clean and tidy, and I'm here for some DNFs, I'm sorry.
Ooh, you think like a Checo at Monaco type of nasty?
Maybe. Just enough to cause a bit of havoc.
I mean, everybody was fine in that crash at the end of the day, but it was dramatic.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Preferably not like red flag level,
Oh yeah.
but, well, maybe red flag level, but like safety car at
the
least.
barrier repairs
Yeah.
on Monaco, man.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm keen for some carnage, hey? It's been too long. A nice safety car that helps a midfielder climb up the points, or maybe even a very lucky podium. That would be awesome. Like, we haven't had that all season. The podiums have been rather predictable amongst the top 4 teams. We haven't had any of those races where, where everything goes wrong for everyone, and then we have those like amazing podium finishes. I love those races. Those are always my most favorite races of the season, and we haven't had one of those yet. So I would be very excited if we get a bit of safety car action, plus weather, plus all those funny things, and we get a really cool race.
I mean, Monza has been a place for these type of races. So.
Well, let's hope that history repeats itself.
Can we just go back to when Uno said the podiums have been predictable, and then look at the points tally of our predictions?
Yeah.
I meant predictable amongst the top 4 teams. It will be one of those 4 teams every time. That's what I mean. Not the fact that we are easily predictable who is going to be on the podium.
You can call the podium predictable once you've gained a single point.
Burn! Oh! I need some ice. I need some ice. Ow, ow, ow. That was great. I love that. More of that. More of that. That's brilliant. While I recover from my burns, I will also predict my wild card. I think
Here we go.
I think that Yuki's going to have a very good weekend.
That's so vague.
I'm going to elaborate.
Don't tell me you're putting Yuki on the podium.
No. I'm waiting for Abu Dhabi to put him on the podium. That will come. That prediction's coming. Don't you worry. Abu Dhabi, Yuki P3. It's happening. Write it down.
P2.
P2. Okay, fine. We'll go P2.
You won, honestly. Come on, he needs his race win.
Yeah, he's got to work up to a race win. He can't go from like nothing to like P1. He's got to like work his way up that podium. He's got short legs. It's hard for him to climb up those steps. Okay, anyway, back to my wildcard prediction. I predict that Yuki will have a very good weekend. I think he'll get into Q3 and he will get some yoints. Maybe just one yoint, but Yuki, Q3, and a yoint. That's what I think will happen this weekend. Because usually when he has a bad race, he follows it up with a good race.
Good. I like that.
He gets a little bit more determination. He spends a bit more time with the team figuring out what went wrong, and they work on it and they make it better. So I think this week is Yuki's week.
Do you think then that he'll break the tire with Hulkenberg?
Oh, I hope so. I need Yuki to get that P10 in the championship. Like, I need it, like, more than I need food or air. I need Yuki to end the championship in P10 at least. If he could catch up to Alonso, that would be amazing, but I don't think that's going to happen.
He's going to DNF now that you've said this.
Oh my god. Don't no.
Don't jinx it, Uno.
Sad Uno noises.
It's fine, we'll get yoints.
Yoints. Okay.
Yoints.
Okay, so thanks for your predictions, everyone. We will see how they pan out next week. Does anyone have any final comments or predictions about Monza that they want to share with us?
Will Uno continue his 0-point streak?
Uno's feeling very attacked right now. Uno
I'm very sorry.
Uno is asking that we respect his safe space and be kind to him.
I'm basking in my short-lived lead.
Yeah, I hope you get 0 points next week, Kira.
I probably will. Honestly, that was a bit more luck than anything this week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all luck. It's all luck.
At the end of the day, it really is.
Yeah, because anything can happen in a race.
Uno is the Charles Leclerc of this competition.
I'm gonna edit in that no scream now. No! And then when I get points next week, I will edit in the yes scream that he got when he won at Monaco.
Monaco. Yeah, that scream is satisfying.
Okay. So anyone want to share anything that's not related to me?
I'm excited not to just see F1 cars on track, but F2 and F3 cars. It's the end of the F3 championship this week.
Ooh.
What?
Oh, I didn't realize F3 had so few races.
Yeah, last one.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Tell us a little bit about F3. I don't know all that much about it. I'll be honest. I'm a bit ignorant when it comes to F3. So has the championship wrapped up yet, or is it still open who can win it?
That is a good question.
It looks pretty open. I'm on the website now. There's 1 point between the person in second and the person in first and the person in second.
Ooh. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely something. Okay, I think I might just tune in and watch that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Who are the championship contenders then?
Mortaroli, Meany, and Browning.
What about Lindblad? No chance there. Oh, he hasn't done anything since Silverstone. Wow. Never mind.
Lindblad had that one amazing weekend and then hasn't won since.
Wow, there's been no points since Silverstone.
Ouch.
I just want it to go amazingly for Mansell. My Aussie boy. Get him in the top.
Is he related to Nigel Mansell?
He is not,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
There's a lot of people in F3. Wow.
Oh, yeah, there is.
There's 33 of them, isn't there? Or 36 or something.
Yeah.
Seems like there's 30 people who've done everything and then 3 people who have been in occasionally.
Well, that's interesting. So everyone, tune in to watch the F3 finale, if you will, this weekend at Monza. And then what's happening in the F2? Anything interesting happening there?
Hopefully Prema won't be the victims of the Mechachrome again for another week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
F2 doesn't wrap up for ages, so but
F2 finishes at Abu Dhabi, so we've got ages, yeah.
they've got 2 in September and then 2 in December, so it's quite a break between.
Praying for Prema.
Praying for
Always.
Prema.
Yeah, well, Kimi Antonelli's doing the F1 free practice, so he might be a bit tired by the time it
That's
gets
what I'm
to-
thinking, because like normally every time Bevan does the free practice, he always then does really badly in F2 qualifying. So RIP in advance, Kimmy.
Well, I'm sure if he gets announced as a Mercedes driver next year, he's not actually going to care how he does in the F2.
Yeah, true. I
exactly.
think Bevan will stop caring.
Yeah,
That's fair enough.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be far more excited about getting a race seat next year.
Let's go.
Let's go, Kimmy. So, I think that's all we have to say for this week. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you had a good time in this traffic paradise. It looks like the road to Monza is finally clear. So enjoy the race. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to follow us if you are listening on Spotify, or like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Have a good rest of your day or night. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll be so glad to see the back of that driver, I'll be honest. I might not include that in the recording, but my God, I'll be so glad when he's gone.